Hi, welcome to episode 253 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura, and I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, and we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, November 4th, and I am learning my first lesson since we set back the clocks this weekend, and that is that I need to record earlier in the day or I will lose the light. My plan on Mondays has usually been get the day's work done for the real job and then go ahead and podcast. And today that it's about 4 o'clock now. And of course it is starting to get dark now that we have turned the clocks back. And so there are shadows in the room and I don't get to record in natural light. So I'm going to have to fix that for next week. But for this week, this will have to do. How are you? I hope that you are doing well. We just got back from the third weekend in a row away, so I am, scrambling today to get back into the swing of things. This was a somewhat easier trip. We just went to family Thanksgiving this past weekend. My husband's family decided to do sort of a potluck early in the month, and so we drove over to Illinois, which is about 5.5 hours from us, and celebrated with them and then came back on Sunday. But we got home at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I still had time to grocery shop and do laundry and those things. So at least today was easier in that respect. The other thing is that we spent, 11 hours in the car, so I got lots and lots of knitting done. So I have 3 finished objects this week to show you, which I am super excited about. My needles are mostly clear. I have a few details to finish tonight, which I'll discuss, but my needles are mostly clear, which means it is time for me to start another sample. Also, because it is November 4th, NaKniSweMo has kicked off. That is National Knit a Sweater Month. If you're interested in learning more about that, check back a couple episodes. Episode 250 I recorded with my friend Anna, and we talk all about what NaKniSweMo is about. So if you want more details, check that. Unfortunately, I have not had time to cast on yet. I have been trying to finish all the things that I signed up for, but I did bring the yarn with me today, so I'll show you and I'll tell you what I'm hoping to knit. I haven't even swatched yet, so I have my work cut out for me, and I'm hoping to maybe get to that tonight or tomorrow. Later in the month, we will be driving to California for Thanksgiving, as we normally do, and we are making a stop along the way where I will have another full day of knitting. So my expectation is that I will probably have to knit my sweater in the latter half of the month, once I finish some of the other things I need to get out of the way. And if I don't finish, I don't finish. That'll be December. It's not the first time I have not finished a sweater, although the last time I didn't finish, it was because I finished and it was absolutely ill-fitting and I hated it and knew I would never wear it, so I ripped it out. So that wasn't technically a non-finish, I just didn't end up with a sweater. So we're going to see. Things are busy. I have said yes quite a few times, and so I just have lots that I am working on. So the other thing that has started now that it is November 1st is I have started the gift along. That is basically knit something for anyone, not knit. It is a craft along that involves any relevant crafts, and it is a craft along where basically you have to craft something for someone who is not yourself. This is the gift knitting and crocheting and sewing and spinning and weaving season, and if you're already making those gifts, why not get a chance to dip in for prizes? So anything you've already got in the works, you are eligible to enter. Whips are welcome, although some portion of the work must be done during the time period that the contest runs. So if you were half finished before November started, the other half certainly counts. And you may post as many times as you have finished objects. So if you're knitting 10 holiday gifts, you get 10 entries. More details are in the Ravelry group. I have opened that, and basically that will run November 1st through December 31st, and then I will award prizes the first few days of January. So please come join us and craft. I am almost done with my holiday crafts for the season, but not quite, so I might enter a few things in there, although of course I'm not eligible for prizes. I haven't pulled prizes yet, but there will be prizes, something from my stash, maybe some hand spun, maybe some patterns. Depending on how many people get involved, I'll add more prizes. So that is the administrative stuff to get out of the way. Let's get to the podcast. So today I am drinking Sweet Harvest pumpkin tea. It is officially fall and I am here for all the flavors. I do not want to pumpkin spice everything, but I will drink pumpkin spice lattes, I will drink pumpkin spice tea, and I will eat pumpkin spice baked goods. So that is where my pumpkin spice lies, but I pulled this out of my tea box today because I thought it would be nice, and I am drinking it in my orange Hello Kitty mug because it is time, well, I guess it's past time for trick or treat. I was like, oh, I'll use that again. Yeah, I guess it's past time. Well, I'm finishing up on trick or treat. We had no trick or treaters this year. We haven't had trick or treaters in a while. And one of the things that's very popular around here is to do trunk or treat, which is the local churches and community centers, usually on the weekend before Halloween, set up trick or treat in a parking lot, and people hand out candy out of their trunk, and it's a place that you can take your kids. The Baptist church on the corner actually does that, on the corner of our block, actually does that, but I haven't worked up the courage to go. Well, first of all, we were pretty much out of town. Were we out of? No, we were out of town we were out of town last weekend, and we didn't get home till Monday morning, so we would have missed it. But I also haven't quite gotten up the courage to go because we are not a member of the church, and we do not have children. So I feel like random people showing up to the church parking lot and opening their trunk of candy to share with children just feels odd to me. I know we're not ill-intentioned, but nobody knows us and we're not like active in the community with our children. So I just feel it's a little odd. Also, October 31st here was incredibly cold. It snowed the day before, so it was like in the 20s and 30s, and it was super chilly, so I don't think people went out that much. But our house is at the end of a long dead-end street. We're at the end of the cul-de-sac, and we have a long driveway, so we don't normally get kids. So I'm gonna enjoy my pumpkin tea and my trick-or-treat mug. And this year I didn't even buy any candy. So we have lived in this house for 9 years now. 9 Halloweens at least. And the first couple of years we got a few kids, and then we went through several years where I bought candy in case we got kids, and we got no kids. So I think it was last year I gave up buying candy, and it hasn't been a problem. So let's talk about the knits. The big thing that I finished, and I finished it before I left, and actually it's still a little bit wet, which I wish it wasn't. I'm going to have to put it back there to finish drying, is I finished the Paraday sweater. That is a sweater that I was knitting, I think technically as a commission rather than as a sample, but I was knitting it out of Zen Yarn Garden Serenity Worsted. It's called the Paraday Cardigan by Teresa Gregorio, and it is finished. So this is a beautiful coat-like cardigan that has some really nice details. I kind of tried to show you some of them last week, but I wasn't quite finished. It's got a really lovely seed stitch border. You start at the bottom, it's knit from the bottom up, and you build up and you do some really nice waist shaping. It's got some fun gathers up near the bust. Let me see if I can show you the gathered section. Fun gathers up here, and then it's got this really cool, really large hood that is still quite damp. Anyway, so this is about 1,400 yards worth of knitting. And I was really close on the yarn towards the end. I ended up having maybe like 15 grams left over from all the balls. And the only thing that this is missing now is it gets some button loops and then some toggle buttons. I am actually not putting the buttons on. They have ordered them, and the person who asked me to knit this has them. I have knit the I-cord loops. I just have not sewed them on. I was waiting for the sweater to dry so I could measure where to put them. And it is not quite dry yet, but my hope is that it will dry in the next day or two and I will be able to send this off. I know it looks like not much of anything. The yarn is absolutely stunning, and it's a merino cashmere. It is like a teal overdyed with black, and it is just absolutely stunning. And then the seed stitch just adds a lot of nice detail to it. So this was a lovely knit. It took me almost all of the month of October to complete, and that hood was a little bit of a slog at the end. And the hood is actually even finished off with some seed stitch. It's just a really really nice, really beautiful cardigan. There will be a link to it in the show notes if you are interested in the pattern, and I will do finished object photos once it is dry before I send it off, so you can look for those in the next couple days. Next up on the finish list, I took a variety of small projects with me this weekend. Not sure how much knitting time I would have, and I had plenty. So the first thing that I finished is my Petiki Tiki cowl. This is a pattern by Francois Denoy, who is Aroha Knits, and it is a pretty cowl pattern, very geometrically shaped, and really easy to knit once you get started and sort of pick up the rhythm of it. I chose to knit it in a gray that I had in the stash. It calls for DK weight yarn and size 6 needles. I had this DK gray, which is CJ Coho Designs Ontagon, in the colorway Crowley. It is a Pulver silk blend, and it is something that I had bought at a local fiber festival and used half of in my Sizzle Pop shawl earlier this year, and still had, well, I used more than half, but what came in a double skein. It was 640 yards, I think, in a 226 gram skein, and I probably used a little bit more than half of it before, but so it was perfect to use in this project. I still actually have 40 grams left, so I am contemplating, there is a matching hat to this project, and I did have enough leftovers that I think I might be able to eke out the hat. So then the contrast color, or the gradient color that I used, is Freya Fibers. It's Freya Fine Hand Paint Fibers, and it is their Ombre Sport, which is a 75 gram ball, 217 yards. I used about half of it in this cowl, which is why I have enough left over to work on another. And it is in the colorway Xenon, and it goes from this really, really light kind of pinky lavender all the way through to kind of a magenta-y pink. And I think the camera blows out the color work in the dark part, and it's hard to see, but I think it shows up really nicely. This is going to be a warm, cozy cowl. I have not blocked it yet, so it is still a little wibbly wobbly on the wibbly wobbly timey-wimey, even though I don't watch Doctor Who. It is still a little bit wibbly wobbly on the color work. I have pretty good tension on color work, so it's not too bad, but I do want to give it a nice block, and then I will take photos. And so I'm really pleased that it's done, and one of the days this week, the high is going to be 33, so I'm sure that I will find it lovely this winter. So I'm excited this is done, and like I said, stay tuned. I may end up knitting the hat later because the ball of gray never ends, and I basically have about from here down, like just into the dark and then back out to the light. So I might knit myself a hat to match. So that one's done. It was a quickie project, about 300 yards, 325 yards, maybe 340, I cannot remember, out of the stash, and I really just wanted to knit that. So that was kind of an instant gratification, self-gratification knit that I had started when we were in DC 2 weekends ago. So really start to finish, I knit this in 10 days, in addition to all the other things that I'm doing. Third finished object of the trip is I finished Roxy's scarf. And this I started, when did I start it? I started it when we went to Kentucky, so about 2.5 weeks ago. About 2.5 weeks ago. It is a simple garter stitch project that I started because I was hoping to knit it in the car a bunch. And I didn't knit it as much as I wanted to on that trip, but I did this trip. So this is just it's a really simple repeat garter stitch scarf. The purple is Lorna's Laces Shepherd's Sock Sport, and the speckle base is from a dyer that I would not buy from again based on her politics, but it was something that I already had in the stash. I'm not going to use her name, but you can check my project page. I did list it in there. I have just been unhappy with how she has handled the whole diversity and inclusion discussion that has been happening on Instagram, since January, so it's been 11 months now, and she did not show a very nice side of herself throughout these discussions, and so I will not be buying from her again. However, it was this speckled yarn that I had bought that had kind of a rainbow of speckles, and I thought Roxy might find it fun in a scarf, and I want to just use it and give it in the spirit that it was intended, which was I bought it to use it and to love it, and so I will make wiser decisions on I will make wiser purchasing decisions in the future, and not support this artist, but I'm still going to use the yarn. So it used up about half the ball of, basically it was actually a 3-row repeat. I did 1 row of the sport, and then this is a really light fingering weight. And so I did 2 rows of the fingering weight just to kind of give it, kind of make my yarn go as far as it could go. This also needs a good blocking. It's a little misshapen because it's been sort of balled up. But I have half a skein left of this one, so I'm thinking about knitting Roxy some socks in this colorway just to finish it off, just because it is really delightfully rainbow speckled. The colorway was called Pixie Dust, and it's just a lot of fun. So that is another one off my needles and another one for the kids' winter set. If you're keeping track at this point, the only thing I absolutely must knit for the kids' winter sets still is Miles' mittens, and I took them on this trip, and it was the one project that I did not get to. So that's next on my docket sometime this week or next weekend when I can squeeze it in, and if I can squeeze in 1 more pair of socks for Roxy, I will, but otherwise I may just consider myself done with the holiday knitting. I don't know, I may knit them some socks for Christmas. So those of you who have been watching for a while will know my family does not celebrate Christmas, so we meet at Thanksgiving and we exchange gifts then. We are Jewish, and so the only time I see my niece Roxy, and well, not the only time, but I see my niece Roxy and my nephew Miles at Thanksgiving, but then I do not see them at Christmas because we both, my sister and I both celebrate Christmas with our in-laws because our husbands do celebrate Christmas. So I won't actually see the kids for Christmas, but I'm always trying to craft to get things done by Thanksgiving. If I don't finish everything I want to knit for them, which is ideally I'd knit them each a few more pairs of socks. I think I have 2 for Miles and 1 for Roxy, and so ideally I'd have 3 or 4 per kid because winter is long and feet need to be covered every single day and those need to be washed frequently. So I may do some additional socks either on my trip for Thanksgiving, on my way out maybe, or if I have knits to finish, which I think I will, I might do some in December and just send them for Christmas. Put little Christmas socks in their Christmas stockings. That appeals to me. Anyway, so I'm going to try and knit Roxy 1 more pair of socks, and I have Miles' mittens, but then I think I'm almost done with the holiday knitting, which is kind of crazy. So that is the 3rd project done. The 4th thing that I have worked on, and actually it is almost done too, although I still have another square or 2 to do tonight, is something new that I have been doing lately, and I told you I would talk a little bit about it. So I have been looking for knitting commissions and samples, and a while ago I put my name in for something locally. We have an artisan here in Kansas City, or actually I should say a group of artisans, and they are called the City Girl Farm. And they are the home of the chicken footstool. And so they produce these metal and I'm not sure what else they use. There definitely is some structure underneath. They produce chicken footstools. So they are rather large, well, they're small and large size chickens. And I don't know that they're really actually meant to be footstools. They are more art pieces and kind of ornamental, but they look like chickens. And the reason that I applied was several months ago, they announced they were looking for people to knit chicken feathers. And I was really sort of taken by this, and I had no idea what, I was curious about what it meant. So I emailed them and said I'd be interested in learning more, at which point they said, okay, hang tight, we'll get in touch with you. And basically that was before the summer, and I hadn't heard anything, and then they called maybe about a month and a half ago to see if I was still interested. And so I went down to talk to them, and I got to learn more about the chickens. The chickens look like this. So they are like chicken and rooster forms, and they are covered in knitting. And this one, as you can see, is covered in knit pieces of different colors, and they are made using loop stitch, and then the rooster's comb is felted. So basically, each one of these chickens is absolutely unique. And they are created by a group of artisans who have all kinds of sculpting, finishing, spinning experience. And they were looking for a knitter. So they get in batches of hand-spun yarn, and most of it is thick and thin and spun by various spinners they have worked with over time. And they're looking for people to knit forms to be placed on the chickens. So the first thing that I did was I knit a chicken jacket, and what it is a loose pattern written to accommodate a bulky weight yarn on size 13 needles, and it basically covers the body of the chicken. So the first time I knit a full jacket, but sometimes what they do, as with the picture that I just showed you, they take different pieces of knitwear and sort of cobble them together and sew them together and create kind of a patchwork chicken jacket. So what I have been doing this week is working on knitting up some navy bulky yarn in two types of squares or rectangles. The first is just some bulky garter stitch, and as you can see, it is hand spun yarn. It is super thick and thin. I did not spin it. I received the yarn from them, and then I'm in charge of knitting it up into pieces of approximately this size. I've been experimenting a little bit. So I knit about half a dozen to I think there are about 8 of these garter squares right now. And then I have also been knitting in the chicken feather pattern, which is loop stitch. And I don't know if any of you have ever knit in loop stitch. It looks like this. It looks a little crazy. I had seen it a couple times before. It is often used with novelty yarns. And the other thing that I had seen it used for is there are a couple toy lion patterns where you use the loop stitch to create the mane. And so it's a toy lion, and then kind of around the face you use the loop stitch. I had to Google this and look up a YouTube video for how to knit loop stitch. And I found a couple of good videos that showed me how to do it. It is not tricky, although it takes a little bit longer because you are stopping and making loops on a lot of your rows. So I have been cranking out rectangles of loop stitch and garter stitch to be used together to build chickens. And once they use some of my work to build chickens, I will probably share from their Instagram and show you what I have been doing. So it's kind of a little quirky and goofy, and of course I cannot say no to a fun project. And the nice thing about this is that this is super local. The studio that these people work out of, the studio where they assemble the chickens, is actually a few doors down from my local knitting store. So I've been going up there once every couple weeks to drop some stuff off and pick up some more stuff. And I have also gotten to go peek in the knitting store when I go and see what they have that's new. So that's been kind of fun and also occupying my time. So that was a lot to get through. Let's talk about what's going to be on my needles for this month. This month I have a new sample, and I asked and I am allowed to show you. So I am knitting, it's actually a shawl that has already been released. It was released, I think, 2 years ago, and it is called the Onlay Shawl by Anne Podlesak, and it was released as part of Filament magazine, which sadly is no more, and she is wanting to work up another sample because she is going to re-release the pattern. So it is a beautiful lacy scarf that has beadwork in it, and it's been a while since I've done anything like that, but she asked if I would be interested in knitting a sample, and of course I couldn't turn it down, so she sent me some yarn. The yarn that we are using is Rauma, R-A-U-M-A, and it is a Norwegian yarn, I believe. I have not worked with it yet. And it is called Alpaca Lin, which is 48% baby alpaca, 8% something, it's ULL. Oh, I guess that's probably wool. And then 44% lin, which I'm going to say is probably linen, but I don't know for sure. And she sent it to me in these 3 gray colors. It's like a really, really soft silver, kind of a medium gray, and then a slightly darker gray. And then she also sent it to me with some clear, sorry, she sent it to me, sorry for the plastic, I didn't even open this until today. She sent it to me with some clear silver lined beads. God, that's just Sorry, that's just like completely crazy. And so I am going to turn that into a shawl this month, and I am excited about that. That's weird. Oh, she threw that in there anyway. It's a free gift from where she got the beads, and it's just some washers. And I was like, why would I need washers? It's very odd. Anyway, so that is the first thing that's going to be on my needles, and I'm hoping to cast that on this evening once I finish the last square for the chickens, and also once I put the button loops on the sweater. So I am working on that, and that is what I'll be working on tonight. Now, my sweater. When I get to it, I am going to cast on my sweater. I guess I actually don't need to show this to you because if you saw episode 250, I talked about it. I hemmed and hawed and decided I'm only going to be able to cast on one sweater this month, so I chose the little black cardigan that I'm not as excited about knitting as I am about wearing. This came out of, I had a black store-bought cardigan that kept getting holes in it, and I kept patching it, and finally I gave up and got rid of it and decided I would make myself a little black cardigan. Obviously I'll be working in black yarn, so it won't be super exciting in terms of colorways, but I have selected the Girls Night Out cardigan, or the Night Out cardigan, and that is from Joji Locatelli. It is a pretty plain black cardigan with a few little lace panels, just a nice lace panel down the button band, and I am using Anzula Dreamy, which is a merino cashmere silk. It's 75% superwash merino, 15% cashmere, 10% silk in the black colorway, and it is just a really nice semi-solid black. So that is what I am working on. I have incremental progress in spinning, which is last night when we got home and I had some time. I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get that spin off the bobbin. So I started plying for my, it is Crown Mountain Farms. It is the Stonehenge colorway, and I looked back and I started it on September 24th. So that's probably the longest spin in a while that I have not worked through. The singles have been done probably since the beginning of October, and I just have not had time to sit down and ply because I've been so busy knitting. So I am working on plying those up. I got them about half to 2/3 done last night, and actually I hope to do more of that tonight. I've got a lot to do tonight. And so I hope to be able to show you that soon, and hopefully next week. And the next spin is some Hello Yarn, and I don't know whether I'll get that started this week. I hope so, but I just don't know. I have really been missing my spinning wheel, but there has just been lots to knit, and I have a million more things I want to knit, and some whips that I really need to finish, and stuff for the kids, and more samples coming, and so I'll just be over here knitting. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you'll check out NaKniSweMo, and if you are knitting things for people, or you are crafting items for people other than yourself, you will dip into the holiday gift along. It does not actually have to be a holiday gift. It just cannot be for yourself. Hold your horses. Wait till January. January is the selfish craft along, which is make something for yourself after you have crafted for everyone else. So we will be doing that again. Anyway, come over to the group, say hi, join in. I would love to see you over there, and I hope you have a wonderful week. So until I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.